All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What Drives You. I am one of your co-hosts, Stan Windhorn, and with me today is my co-host and good buddy Carl Bauer, who is also sort of our guest today as well, because we're going to be talking with Carl and diving into his large brain and talking about some things that I believe he is an expert on. Carl, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. If 33 years constitutes some sort of expertise, then yes, I am an automotive expert.
I think that does, and you're certainly, even though I've got a pretty long history in the automotive industry as well, I still go to you for this kind of advice. But before we get into that, you just let me know that we're approaching a milestone at What Drives You. Had 100,000 views.
Just about.
So really appreciate everybody sticking with us through all of our episodes, and we are going to continue to try and bring you valuable information to entertain you, inspire you. What are other things?
Entertain, encourage, and educate.
Yeah, encourage. I forgot the encourage part. Well, today we're going to educate you on some secrets that I think a lot of people would like to know about buying a car. Um, And Carl has been in the business for a long time. He's been a general manager. He's owned his own car business. He's been on the vendor side. He knows it from all different angles. There's two subjects we want to cover today, and that is when is the best time of year to buy a car, and also how to get the best value on your trade-in. So, Carl, let's start with the first one. In your opinion, if someone was going to go buy a car, what is the best time of year and why?
Great question, Stan. I can we narrow it down a little bit more? There are better times of year. Let's take it from a couple different angles. New cars, best time of year to buy a new car
Well, that's what I was
is
going to ask you too. Is let's start with new car and then we can talk about used cars.
yeah. So new cars, best time of year to buy a new car if you're okay with having the tail end of a production run, then usually July or August. So right about this time of year is a good time because you're going to get those 2026s that actually hit the showroom or hit the lots probably in last September, October, November. So if you're willing to go, hey, current model year back, that is right now, the next 60 days is the best time of year to buy that new car because you're getting the leftovers not the
So if I want a
leftovers.
2026, we're still in 2026. You keep saying it's a leftover.
Yeah, I don't mean leftover. I just mean new models typically hit July, August, September of the previous year. So last September, July, August, September, 2026 we're hitting, even though it was 2025. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
All
So
right.
those which are still they're still making 2026s probably till about they're going to change over to 2027s, probably July, August. So that would then be a 2027 you're able to buy in 2026. You're probably not getting a deal on those bad boys. You're getting a deal on the 2026s that were, end of the production run.
All right. It is part of the reason you're going to be getting a good deal is you only got a half a year left to have a year brand new car for that year. Is that part of the reason why it's a good time?
That's part of the reason. Again, there's also the model changeover. There's a drastic change in the trim level, in the look, in the feel, in the engine. Again, some of that is going to be just a complete new model. But if you're looking at apples to apples, yes, it stands exactly right. You got some depreciation aspects in there because you are now getting towards the calendar year, and in depreciation every year. Again, remember it's on new cars specifically $2,000 to $6,000 depreciation from a new model year calendar year to that older vehicle. That makes sense. So
Okay. So what you're saying is if you wait till the end of the year of that new vehicle, which would be, say, August, it's going to typically be a few $1,000s less expensive than if you would have bought it in November of last year.
correct. That's
Because it's
typically, and
not
again,
really
these
the
are
new
very,
model anymore.
yeah, these are very general rules. So if you're an expert and you're in the car business, don't beat us up because these are very general explanations.
Well,
And
let me ask you this question. If we're at the end of the 2026 manufacturing season, can you get a car? I mean, is there ever a case where they've worked out the kinks from when it was the new 2026 model and now you're getting ones that have maybe had all the kinks worked out of it, or is that not even a factor?
no, that is absolutely a great point, Stan. I typically will not buy if it's a totally fresh, brand new model or trim or whatever or redesign. I usually, again, this is just 30 something years of being in the business. I wait till the next year. To your point exactly. You got to get some of the kinks out. And perfect example of this is Nissan, my time at Nissan, a brand new Altima came out or a brand new Rogue came out. With Altima specifically, which was one of the hottest sedans, if you remember, Stan, for a long while, they had a transmission issue and a subframe issue. And some of that got kinked out, some of that got upgraded, some of that was just a recall that they fixed. Even they're fixing it now, probably. But a lot of the kinks do get worked out. That's second, third, fourth year of production. It's a great point.
Okay. Um, so what about used cars? Does it matter if I'm going to buy a used car? Does it matter what time of year I buy it?
It doesn't, but can we pause back to new cars for a second? Because there's that best time of year to buy a new car and there's a best time of month. And this is
Oh,
regardless. So on the new car side, which is right now, this has tapered a little bit over time because of the internet and pricing and home delivery and such. But the best time of month to buy a new car is that last week because they are trying to hit goals and quotas and finish the month strong. So if you've done your research and you can buy in that last, or you can wait to buy in that, and my car dealer friends are going to hate me saying this because they hate being rushed here at the end, but that's really when the deals happen, especially around a holiday weekend. Right now, we got 4th of July coming up. This is a prime time to buy a new car for sure.
well, it's interesting, but in my experience, almost everything I've ever sold, for some reason, the deals always come in at the end of the month. Not all of them, but you can be like, oh, I'm having a horrible, horrible month. And then next thing you know, last few days of the month, all your deals come in. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because of what you're just saying. Maybe people already kind of know that the end of the month is a good time to work the deal because they want to hit their quotas. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say on top of that, from a new car perspective, because of the quarterly things and quarterly reporting for the public companies, if you could be at the end of the month and end of the quarter, like we are right now today, very powerful because they're trying to finish the quarter strong, finish the month strong, and then put those reported numbers out there so their stock can appreciate or not, they can hold it stable. So end of quarter, end of month for new cars, absolutely key and critical to what you're trying to do as far as getting a good deal on a new car.
Gotcha. Okay, so what about used? Does it make any difference if it's used?
You certainly, again,
The
you're
end of
going to
the
have
month
more.
has got to apply still because they're still trying to make the quota. It doesn't really have anything to do with the year or make or model of the car, but that car dealer wants to make their monthly numbers or their quarterly numbers. So buying at the end of the month for used, I would think holds true. Would you agree?
It does. It's not as critical. And what I mean by that is, let's say I just bought a car at the auction last week or the last week of the month, or took it as a trade in. I still want to make the most money on that car because it's fresh. I've just reconditioned it. It hasn't, sat on the lot and gotten lot rot. So you may not have leverage on that particular car because it's a fresh trade in or a fresh acquisition. But if that car's been there for a while, this applies more to how to get the best deal on a used car. If the car's been in inventory for a while, you got leverage. If we're at the end of a month or a quarter, you have leverage on either new or used. But used is a little less leverage just because they're a commodity, and now especially they're harder to find than ever.
So would you recommend if someone was looking to buy a used car, a question to get answered is how long has that car been for sale?
Great question. And a lot of the tools that are out there, you guys, Carfax, Kelly Blue Book, and that, it will show days in inventory. So if it's beyond 30 days in inventory, you got some leverage because either there's a problem with it, it's not desirable, it's not in demand. They just want that thing gone, right? Because car dealers like to turn used cars or sell used cars within that 2 weeks to 60 days window to make the most amount of money to turn that cash. So yeah.
Okay. What other advice would you give our listeners for buying a used car?
Well, this one I want to say buying, do your research, right? If it's a car that is in high demand and short supply, that's a really tough car to negotiate on. If you're stuck on a particular mileage range, like I got to have low miles or I got to have this equipment, you're not in the driver's seat. If you can be flexible on color and miles and trim level, you do have more leverage. But if you're looking for a needle in a haystack, there's a bunch of people looking for a needle in a haystack. The dealers got leverage, right? And they should because it's supply and demand.
Yeah, supply and demand. Right. Okay. Let's switch gears. I've got a car, like most people. If I'm going to buy a new or used car, a new car to me, I've got a car already that I need to do something with. What's your advice? Do I trade it into the dealer? What do I do?
Trade in. So Stan and I worked on a project some years ago when we met and partnered up and we're on the same team, literally shoulder to shoulder. Was a company called TrueCar, and we worked on a program called
Sell
uh,
your car.
Sell Your Car, which even before that was what was it called before that?
Well, dealer facing, it was the vehicle purchase program.
The Vehicle Purchase Program. But
Customer
in
facing, it was the USAA Sell Your Car Service.
So Sell Your Car service. What we would tell consumers, okay, which we also back that up because we built value to the dealer. If you are trading a car, which the vast majority of people still have a trade in, right? They're currently driving something. You got to do this. Don't go there with it looking like a pigsty or an ashtray. Clean the car up. Have a story for the car. I've done this work to it recently. Bring your receipts. Have both of your keys, right? You want to build the most value because every time you have a deduction or a negative or a something that the dealer has to do to the car, he can depreciate the trade-in. For example, Stan recently, and he knows that I went through this. I needed tires. Well, in the brain of the dealer, if I come in and they know they have to do tires on it, they're taking off 1,000 or 2,000 right off the bat. But if I come in and go, here's my receipt, I just spent $1,200 on tires, guess what? They can't deduct that. Oil change, tire rotation, long history, no accidents, all these things. And by the way, I just spent 4 hours over the weekend detailing this car. That saves the dealer money. All those things build value and give you leverage to the dealer. And by the way, you're doing them a favor because it's less they have to do.
I'm gonna go and kind of give people a little secret, industry secret. But when you bring your car in and you're gonna trade it in to a dealer, most likely they're gonna do something that's called a walk around. And it is fairly common knowledge on the car dealer side that when they do a walk around, they're going to be looking for every little ding, every little scratch, every little smudge. And typically what they'll do is they'll have a clipboard or something, but they're going to point at it. They're going to look at it really closely. It is pretty well known that a lot of times if they do that, all they got to do is go up to that little ding and look at it. And a lot of people will now start explaining what happened. Oh, that was a grocery cart got hit that, and start talking about it. That puts you in a bad position as a consumer. Let them do their walk around and don't say anything. Um, Make them tell you if those things deduct value from your car.
Yep. And if you had, for example, I had a car that had a hail damage, right? And this was some years ago, and I just never got around to fixing it. Well, guess what? I had gotten paid from the insurance. I chose not to or delayed in having those things repaired. That was a huge deduction. Get your windshield, especially if you got that kind of insurance that has glass replacement. Don't Bring the car in there with a cracked windshield or a chipped windshield, fix it. Go through it. You want to present, remember, the trade in is your opportunity to sell your car, your story, your history, your care of the vehicle to them. You are selling that car to them. So that is how you get the most money for your trade in. Have a story, have documentation, have it clean.
If you think about it, one of the ways to get the most for your current car is to sell it yourself to another private party, which is a big, giant hassle. But everything that Carl's suggesting you do when you trade in, you would do all of that if you were going to try and sell that car yourself. You would clean it. You would make sure that it's as in good a condition as possible because the person you're selling it to, you want to get as much money for it as you can. So you want to present it that way. Um, I've sold cars on my own, and it can be a hassle, but you do end up typically with more money because the dealer needs to buy it at a price where he can turn around and resell it, recondition it, resell it. Um, I would recommend to people that there are a lot of resources right now where you can get a pretty good idea what your car is worth, especially what it's going to be worth as a trade-in or if you were going to sell it to a dealership. In fact, one of the things, I don't know if you still believe this or not, but I would always recommend to people take it over to a CarMax. They'll buy a car, whether you buy a car from them or not, and they typically are known to give a pretty fair wholesale type of a price. In other words, a pretty fair price of what you're going to get as a trade-in at a dealership. And it's going to take an hour of your time, hour and a half of your time, but you're going to walk out of there having a pretty good idea what your vehicle is worth to car dealers. What do you think about that, Carl?
Yeah, I would say I would echo that. Yes, I agree with CarMax. That does take some time, but Carvana is another one. Carfax even now will give you an estimate on trade-in. The tools have gotten a lot better. And the point there is still most dealers have the ability to match whatever price is out there. I will disagree with Stan a little bit, or not disagree, but throw this opinion out there. Selling a car on your own used to be the best way to get top dollar for your car. But now with a couple of these other companies out there that the book values and the loan values don't matter to them, which is CarMax and Carvana, they will pay even sometimes more than you could get on your own. And there is sometimes in some states a tax benefit. So, but to echo Stan's point, agree with him, get a second and third opinion. So when you're talking to the dealer and you're selling them your car and they say, hey, we think your car's worth $10,000, you can pull out some data and some sheets and go, hey, I've had three other offers at about 12 grand. If you can match it, I'll happily trade it in here. Save me a lot of hassle. But if you don't have that data and you don't have those other offers, you're kind of, you're taking the first opinion
Yeah.
um, and not the market value.
One other thing I would give advice to people is remember that car dealers make the most money from used cars, not from selling new cars. They make a lot more money selling used cars, which means your used car is of great value to them. As long as I've been in the industry, in fact, the program that Carl alluded to that he and I first met was all about the fact that car dealers are always looking for quality used inventory. It is one of the biggest challenges that they have. So don't shortchange the fact that your vehicle is valuable to them. They really want that used vehicle. In most cases. I mean, if you got to tow it onto the lot, maybe that isn't so true.
Maybe
But
not.
yeah, just remember that's a very valuable thing to them, and so keep that in mind when you're going in to make a trade.
And for context, you know, just so the industry, no, on average, we sell about 15 to 17 million new cars a year in the US. We sell anywhere between 35 to 50 million, depending whose numbers you believe. So it's 2 to 3 times the number of used cars are sold in the US every year as it is new. So it's powerful and it's important. And to Stan's point, they make more money, but they also make more money in service. Because remember, that car you just traded in, they got to recondition it. So they pay themselves to recondition it. They then have an opportunity at finance and the profit on the sale. And every used car is unique, especially if you've got a good story and you kept it, garage kept and reconditioned it and serviced it, those are all valuable points. And with the price of new cars today, those of you who haven't shopped for a new car, they're bonkers. So they're even more valuable than they were in the past used cars because it's just budget friendly. A used car is.
One more piece of advice I want you to share, Carl.
Sure.
Just from a financial standpoint, should you buy a new car or buy a used car?
My opinion, and I've mostly throughout my history, I'm been driving for 40 something years now. I buy used. And the reason I buy used, and I try and buy used cars that still have a little bit of factory warranty left on them. That's not always the case, but
Or
um,
something called a certified pre-owned, a CPO? Those are really good to have. That paid off for me with the last truck I bought.
yeah, and Stan's been pretty loyal to Toyota over the years. I've kind of been all over the board with cars depending on deals, but for the most part, I buy used. In recent times, because of the COVID and the chip shortage and all that, used cars have creeped up, especially because new cars are even crazier, but it's still a value. It's still, I would recommend always looking at a used car before you go out and buy a new. Now, if you get 0%, if you can get some big rebates and all that, you just got to do the math on it and factor it all out. But from the vast majority of people, as you can see, used cars is the best value over new.
Well, I watched a thing recently on with Warren Buffett, and that's one of the big mistakes he thinks that we as Americans make is financially, just pure financially, is buying new cars because literally the very second that car leaves that lot, it is worth thousands of dollars less than what you just paid for it a few seconds ago. And there's not too many things from a financial standpoint where you would do something like that. You would very rarely ever make an investment of that size that you knew instantly it's going to be way less expensive. But to Carl's point, maybe you're getting a great deal like 0% financing, and so you're not paying any interest on it. So that could certainly make up for something like that. The warranty part of it, if if a big repair comes, you can make up that difference pretty quick if you've got something that's still under warranty. So it's not the only thing, but I think in general, for me personally, I always try to find a certified pre-owned, which for those of you who don't know, it's something that it meets a certain number of factors set up by the OEM or the manufacturer that says this thing is in still such good condition that there's still warranty available on it. So that's always a good thing to look for as well.
Can I leave you with this last little PS, Stan? Then I'll let you go. And thanks everybody for
Sure.
joining us again. Well, I think this is going to be episode 125 or 124. Yeah, can you believe that? Yeah.
I do.
Uh,
That's cool.
Here's the last little nugget. Shop locally. There's a lot of good dealers out there. Check their reviews, check their Google reviews, check their Yelp, all that, but shop locally because nobody wants to sell a bad car to somebody who lives 2 blocks away, right? When you start traveling far and wide for deals and I saved 100 or two or three, just remember car dealerships are typically one of your largest employers behind education or a big Walmart, especially in mid to small towns. They're a big employer, so they need your support and help. Now, that doesn't mean there's not bad seeds out there, but I would shop first locally, see what they got, start spreading out geographically because they can also stand behind, especially if you got a family owned operation who's been around for years. They don't want to take advantage of you. They got to make a fair profit, a good profit to stay in business. They're supporting a lot of folks, especially if they're really involved in the community. Shop local, check their reviews, and then start spreading out your search. So there's good people still, a lot of good people in our business.
Good deal. All right, Carl, thanks for sharing your years of wisdom. That
Yes,
huge brain of yours filled with all this good information. We're going to do a couple episodes kind of along this series about buying a car. What are we going to talk about on the next episode, Carl?
I think we're going to talk about leasing and finance because that's kind of the
Yeah.
the honey hole of my day job right now. So yeah, looking
All
forward to
right.
that one. So stay tuned for those episodes too. Good learnings.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of What Drives You. And as we always like to say, remember, be good humans to each other. We'll see you next time.